Good morning, everybody. I had 8 minutes. Kelly took 7 of them, so hello. Thank you for listening. No. Hey, I had the pleasure of running 2 Convention of States bills here in the Arizona legislature. The first in 2015, which we didn't get through. The second in 2017 faltered, but Senator Townsend was there, and she was able to scoop it up and take it home. So that was a great year for Arizona, joining your map of green states, and we're very proud to be there. Because, as we all know, the federal government is a behemoth. It can print money, which devalues your money, and it's often run by staff. At all levels of government, and I've been on town councils, I've been in the legislature, at all levels of government, staff very often runs the operation. The members don't have the time or the inclination or the will to do the actual mechanics. They delegate to anonymous staff. And that's where a lot of crazy regulations come from and where a lot of the crazy spending plans occur. So the answer is to get internal reform. Let's get some good people there. And we've done that. I was driving in today, listening to KFYI, and Congressman Andy Biggs, who I worked for years here with, was on. And he's a good reformer, and he's doing some good stuff, although, unfortunately, he wasn't quite with us on cost. But that doesn't mean that he's not doing some stuff to shrink the government. However, there aren't enough people who want to shrink the government in D.C. to do the job. And that's why we need the Convention of States. Congress is out of the loop, and they just don't want to reform the place. So, the big question, of course, has always been runaway convention. Well, you need 38 states to ratify this convention. So that means if there was a runaway convention, and they could all agree on that, 13 states could stop it. All you need is 13 states. And how interesting that 13 is the same as the original colonies that gave us this nation, and they'll preserve it to the end. There's not going to be a runaway convention problem because, first, I don't think 38 states could agree on something wacko, and even if they did, there are 13 that can whack them down and take care of the problem. That minor risk, and it's minor, not worth really considering, is outweighed by what the cost could give us. Term limits, a cap on taxes, a cap on spending, and of course, no more Congress people can exempt themselves from the rules that they impose upon us, like insider trading. We fought a revolution from a distant king who was taking power from us and oppressing us, and now we have distant politicians in Washington, D.C. doing the same thing. And the founders foresaw this threat, and that's why Article 5 is in the convention. The national debt is currently $30 trillion. That comes out to nearly $250,000 per taxpayer. That is tremendous debt, because I see a lot of taxpayers here. I see only taxpayers here. That is a tremendous debt that they have thrown upon us. And if you look at the history, I went to the internet, and I looked at the history of the national debt. It's not just the numerical size of the national debt, it's what percent of the gross domestic product it is. Because if I have a debt of $10,000, but I only make $20,000 a year, I got a problem. If I have a debt of $10,000 and I make $6 million a year, I don't even have something that I'm even aware of, right? So that's the big thing. In 1929, the debt in billions was $17 million, but that was only 16% of gross domestic product. By 1939, it went up to $40 billion, but that was 51%. But that was after the Great Depression, so maybe they took on some debt there. But in 43, it went up to 70% of GDP. That was 137 billion, but that was World War II. You take on debt to keep yourself alive. By 1951, it went up to $255 billion, or 70% of the gross domestic product. But then we had some changes later on, like when Reagan came in, and it went down to $998 billion and only 31% of GDP. And where are we at today? Today, we are at 29 trillion, 124% of GDP. That is totally unsustainable. That is why we are all here, to do the right thing. So, the costs will give us all these things and also give us other benefits, because the costs will also get rid of federal regulatory overreach, which is estimated to cost us $2 trillion a year, that alone. The costs will let us control the federal courts, which write their own laws and impose it on us, and they take the good laws that we pass and declare them unconstitutional. A double-edged sword by them usurping the Constitution by doing judge-made law. In closing, the founders gave us the Article 5 tool because they knew that someday this would occur. The Article 5 tool is like that little box you see in buildings that says break glass in case of emergency. Well, we're all here to break the glass and pull the handle and bring this country back to sanity, not only for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. And thank you for all the good work that you do.
Love you, John. Love you, man. I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks were willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.